There I am. Okay. Took a minute. Hey there. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to just start talking. Oh, so, hello. I thought I would just do like I really enjoy doing kind of this time because it's kind of like a 5 o'clock rush hour, like happy hour. So I want to make sure y'all can hear me. If you can hear me, would you just put a 1 in the box? Okay, good. Nana can hear me. Well, if Nana can hear me, I'm good. Okay. So, hi and welcome. And, you know, we're going to talk about a couple things today. And I'm kind of like, I'm kind of looking forward to talking to y'all about this because I think these have been things that have been on my mind. And, well, first of all, we're going to talk about the laundries, the parents, and because something's not right. Something's not right in Dodge. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to try to feel into it a little with y'all. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin. And I think I might kind of start there because that one's kind of and I hate to say it, an easier one as we go over to the others. So first of all, I want to just look and say hi to everybody and just welcome you. And please, if you, as you're going along, if you kind of like what's going on, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell so you'll know when I'm going live. And yeah, because I got the little subscribe pillow. I always forget that. And then I watch other creators and they're going, hit subscribe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot that. Okay, so I want to just say hi to a couple people. And just, if you're new, welcome. If you're kind of like old school, if you're an OG, let's see on here, people from all over the world. Where are you from? Will you put down where you're from? Because I love that. I know my friend Ron does that on his feed. And if you get a chance, just tell me. I know of someone from Poland. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. And someone else is from England, of course. And I know, Nikki, I know you're from Australia. Well, you're from Greece, but I know you're here from Australia. And I know that there's a little delay on the time thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And as people type in, I'll come back to it. So the first thing I want to talk about is Alec Baldwin because, and I'm going to take my glasses off and then I'll come back to saying hi to people who are from different parts of the world. Tennessee, you're really close to me. I'm in North Carolina and I'm in Asheville and then I'm going to be moving actually. Not sure when, but I'm looking. I need to go back to the ocean. So let's talk about Alec Baldwin. I always had an affinity for the Baldwins because I actually had a friend in LA who was married to one of them. I just know like the brothers in terms of and when I say familiarity, it's not like we're friends. I'm not like, hey, what's going on? It's not like that. It's more like, oh yeah, so-and-so's married to that guy, that kind of thing. And I would say, actually, I want to call her more of an acquaintance. But one of the things we always know about Alec is he's an Aries, right? And he's an Aries and he's hot-headed. And that's the way it's going to be. So what I want to say is that certainly I don't think he did that on purpose. I want to be very clear so that I'm not going to get somebody later. How dare you say, no, I didn't say that. There's always one, right? There's always one person that says, and then I've got a funny thing to tell you. I'll tell you a story about, I really have to do a segment on, oh no, they did not, no, they did not do that. So I'm going to have like a little crazy person segment every week, I think. So here's what I feel. People had walked off that set a few hours before. Now, if you don't know what happened, I'm going to back up. Alec Baldwin is on a new film called Rust. If I'm not mistaken, it's in New Mexico. And there had been questions on the set about gun safety and gun handling. And I think that, the irony of all this is that, and this is where I'm going to just step aside here for a little bit, is the NRA, National Rifle Association, promotes, aside from all the lobbying, because everybody lobbies. It's like the worst thing about lobbying is if you're against them, you hate them for lobbying. If you're for them, you like what they actually do for you. So it's kind of an interesting, how that difference of the two is. So what I wanted to say to you is that Alec Baldwin has been very outspoken against NRA, like, Like basically we shouldn't have any guns, we should take them away. But here he is doing a film with a gun. So, what comes up for me energetically with that, right, is that, I can depict somebody holding a gun, but you shouldn't have guns. And that to me is kind of like, the irony of that. Again, I kind of am in the middle in this. I want to tell you, I kind of don't have an opinion either way, but the only opinion I do have is that anyone who has taken any course on gun safety, anyone who knows anything about guns. I remember my first conversation about guns was with my father, who said, don't get one. And then a friend of mine, Al, who was a beat cop in New York. And I remember saying, someday I was thinking I want to be a police officer. My father was just no. But, and Al was like, the only thing I can tell you is that if you ever pull out, because we were talking about guns, and he said, if you ever pull out your firearm, he said, he called it revolver in those days, I don't know. But anyway, he said, if you ever pull out your gun, shoot to kill. He said, don't just shoot somebody, because what he taught me, and I learned it then, and I'm sure most of you know it now, because I love these idiots that get up and go, well, just shoot somebody in the leg. Really? Because when someone's hyped on adrenaline or drugs, they're coming at you. You can shoot them 7 times before they're down. So people don't understand. You can't just shoot somebody in an arm and they're going to go, oh, it stopped me. They're going to come right at you if they're on PCP. So one of the things I want to say about guns is the more education we have, the better. And I'm realizing that now. And again, I'm not saying, it's right or it's wrong, because when I lived in California, I didn't really understand, and moving and having people who have different ways of life, being around people who think differently and learning from them. Okay. And I also read a statistic about guns while we're on this subject, which I thought was very interesting, was that actually the statistics are that more lives have been saved using guns than taken. And I thought, and this is public. And there was an interesting interview I saw recently, and it was from the guy who there was a church shooting a few years ago, and he had a gun with him in church. I don't know what kind, because again, I'm not a gun aficionado, but there was a shooter who got up and started shooting people in his church, and he just went after the guy. And they had the video, like somebody took a phone, of course, right? They took a picture of it, and the guy who had the gun. You could see he's in the stand, and he's just going after the guy, and he killed the shooter. And then they showed something with a politician saying, well, people shouldn't have guns in church. And I'm like, yeah, but that guy, thank God he did, or 20 other people would have died. So I think there's that kind of like, what about the bad people? But I've got to tell you, there's always somebody who's going to do wrong. And you guys know what I mean by that. There's always a criminal who's going to pick up a legal gun or buy an illegal gun. You can't stop that. But what you can do, and this is something going back to Alec Baldwin, and I don't want to get too much into the gun thing, because for me it's Constitution, and that's a different. I think one of the things I want to do is I'm going to start the the group, the Facebook group here. Facebook's. Oh, no, I didn't say that. Wash my mouth. That was so. The YouTube group on here. So I'm going to start groups, and one of the things I'd like to do is bring everybody on and have a discussion about guns and safety and things like that, because I think it'd be very interesting for us to talk about crime together as a group. So that's something I want to do. Well, let's talk about Alec Baldwin for a minute. The AD handed him the gun and said, I forget what he said, something about safe gun or something. I forget what they're supposed to call out. But meanwhile, hours before, 4 people, I think it was up to 4 people had walked off the crew. The only person who didn't walk off the crew was the cinematographer, which now I wish she had, and the director. Now, apparently they were saying that when Alec had the gun, he was practicing, right? So this was like a rehearsal. So he took the gun, and apparently, from what I understand, he fired it. But if you're firing, like, okay, when you're doing a shot, and I'm sure most of you know this, like when you're doing a shot, there is supposed to be, okay, always, and I'm not kidding you, there is never not a safety glass. That's glass, but it's kind of like there's a safety thing in front of the lens that goes, I don't know how wide it is, but I do know it's big. And whenever a gun is pointed toward the camera, hello, there could be people back there. You always have this. So if you think about it, you guys, I mean, I'm sorry, but like, wouldn't you check the gun? I have, and that's the first thing they teach you in gun safety. Don't ever trust a person who hands you a gun and says, oh, there's nothing in it. Look in the chamber, open it. This is where I think Alec has really made a mistake. Now, I'm not going to judge on the accident because I don't know. I don't want to get into that because I do feel like, the real crime here is that everyone on that set was not trained with firearms on a set. And I think that this is a great example of why the NRA exists. Because you see, if people were properly trained with guns, right, even if they're fake, this was a real gun though, by the way, it was an authentic gun. It was an old gun. And that's something very interesting too, because why would an AD pick up a gun off the prop table and say, that it's okay, it's empty, basically? I mean, I don't know, like, I'm not a gun aficionado, but I know, wouldn't you check in the chamber? I mean, I would say, can you open it right in front of me? Caitlin, I agree with you. She just said it's not his responsibility, but you know what it is, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm respectfully disagreeing in this one, and the reason being, if someone hands you a gun, and I think this is the lesson from it, and I think that that's the point. And I'm not, what the truth is, Caitlin, yes, it's an actor on a set, but I can't tell you how many actors I know personally, some stars who, said, oh, I've got a gun thing, in this new movie, I've got to shoot gun. And I was like, how does that work? He said, well, I'm going to go and do some training. They have some gun safety classes. And I was like, why would you not take a safety class? And that's more the conversation. I understand what you're saying. It's not his responsibility. What I want to say to that is that it may not be his fault that it happened the way it happened, but I think there is a personal responsibility. So when you talk legal responsibility versus, personal, and I'm going to answer that in a second, Wendy. One of the things that I think is important is that they do have blanks, but if you've ever heard this, even the blanks, and even if they're hollow, that it has been known that blanks kill people too. They can. That's why they have. And I was talking to a friend of mine who used to do gun stuff and unfortunately, he was like, I don't want to go on your show because he doesn't want to be like, have people bombard him. But he did answer some questions for me, and so one of the things that he said was, Tori, there are so many stopgaps. You hand somebody a gun and in front of them, especially with an actor, he said, I can't tell you how many actors I've worked with where they go, okay, can you open it? Show me how to open it. I want to be familiar with it. You have to be familiar with something you're doing on a set. I did movie roles and stuff in the past. And, it's like that. Thank you. Kung Fu. Hello, Kung Fu Panda. You are so smart. You must treat every weapon as if it's loaded, no matter what. And apparently there were some problems on that shoot regardless. Because if you have 4 crew members are walking off because there's safety issues and it's too far, and apparently the location was far. And so people were driving from their homes and stuff. So I think it's kind of like, I'm not saying that that it's right or wrong, but I think we as people have to know the difference between personal responsibility and legal responsibility. And I think that's something we really learned, if you think about it, with the laundry case. And I'm not going to stop the Baldwin thing yet, because I'm going to answer some questions too. And the thing I want to say also that's interesting is that was such an old gun that who knows what kind of ammo it was taking. So even if there was something in it that was supposed to be, fake, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that's what I feel the NRA is for, is to educate us about guns, is to make sure that, like, we know. Because let me tell you something, it's better to know than not know. And if we do away with an organization that is, saying, hey, we promote gun safety, right? That's very different, by the way, than someone who says, well, we shouldn't have guns at all, or lobbying for guns in Washington. But it's so funny, and you guys get this so well. Like, I can say this to true crime people, right? Not only is there a difference between personal responsibility and legal responsibility, do you know what? I don't know where I'm going to go back, because some people, were telling me where they were from. But, I've got to say to you, let me see if I've got that here. Okay. Oregon, Pensacola, Florida. Hey, Pensacola. I want to go near the Gulf. I would love to be there. Long Island. Okay. Idaho, London. Now, London, they're kind of like going, I have no idea what you're talking about in terms of guns. I think you shouldn't, blah, blah, blah. But British Columbia, Oregon, Oklahoma. Okay, perfect example. Life in Oklahoma, okay? Remember, that started, on the range, right? That's kind of like out in the middle of the I want to say, in some ways it was the wilderness in the old days, but it's still cattle ranching. There's still a lot going on there. And that is, having a gun. Why not? Why? Because there might be an animal trying to kill your crops. You don't know why people in that state might need a gun, whereas New York City, well, I don't know if you really need a gun. I mean, and you might, but I'm just saying that wherever we are, our lives are changed by our environment. And it was something somebody said years ago. I think it was when Sarah Palin. Oh my God, when Sarah Palin was in the news, and we focused a lot on Alaska. And one of the things about Alaska is that is like every state has such a unique lifestyle. That's what I love about the United States. And those of you who haven't, been here to the States, it really is. It's a different world, right? So, Alaska might as well be Russia, because literally Russia and Alaska are separated by 120 miles. So, the joke of I could see Russia. Well, maybe she couldn't, but the reality is that it's that close. So what I'm trying to say to you is that when we look at Alaska versus Oklahoma, and Alaska literally would fly over and kill, I think it was coyotes. Forgive me if I'm getting that wrong. I think it was coyotes. And people are like, oh my gosh, they're killing animals. And it's like, no, you see, those animals are going to starve out there. And so when you're in the wild, it's a different thing. It's the same thing, like some people going, why would you, it's horrible that don't touch the forest. We don't want anybody to touch the forest. But if you don't weed out the forest, if you don't thin it out, those brush fires are going to be catastrophic. So that's the thing that we have to understand, that within our own country, there are different lifestyles, and no matter where you are, right? So you can look at across the border. Somebody just said, Sarah just said, I live in Missouri, but Kansas is right across the state line. That's the thing, is that our state laws are literally very different, and they are tailored to the people that live there. So as I say this to you, we look at Alec Baldwin, who's a New Yorker, comes from New York, and I am too. I come from New York. And so we have a different attitude, at least I did, with that attitude of like, why would people have guns, And then I moved to California, and I was still like, oh, I don't know, guns are dangerous. And then I moved to North Carolina, and I'm like, why not? Like, it's a different lifestyle. So I think it's very important that we look at all of this. So I was just going to thank you. Brissa just said people forget about personal responsibility completely. And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I think I got to tell you, are you guys ready? Pensacola, Shay, you're from Pensacola. I so want to check it out, because on this trip, actually, I'm going to be going to Wilmington and to New Bern, because I want to check out the shore over there. But I really, you know what? I need to live by a beach again. Okay, how does a locked up gun hidden in a closet help protect you? Well, here's the thing. That is, that has happened. And there's also, people who have a gun by their bedside, and people have broken in. I have a story for you guys. Like, this is one of those crazy stories, right? I mean, only in Florida. I don't know who's in Florida, but this is like, Okay, here's the funny thing. So you got this old guy, right? This is this old guy is a friend of one of my dad's best friends, right? So these three guys hung out together, right? So you got to imagine. And this guy was everybody laughed because he's the old one, right? So he was about 80, and he had a gun. He actually had a shotgun, you know, and they in this part of Florida, and I've got to tell you, and you guys know, some parts of Florida are so hip and cool, and then you're in Florida where it's like, how did they put this thing together with, like, spit and glue this house, But this guy's house was one of those things where the how can I say, the hinges to his front door were on the outside. I can't even think about that. My dad laughed about that for weeks. Anyway, they were going around, the little gangs of two guys were going around. Actually, I think it was two or three, but they were going around and stealing from the old people. They would take the hinges off the door, take the door off, go in the house and steal what was there. Well, my dad and his friend's friend, he was so pissed because they'd already tried, and that night he called out and said, "I'm in the house, don't even bother." And they ran off. So he put his door back together. Just why didn't he change the hinges, right? So he's sitting in his house. He decides he's going to turn off all his lights because he's like, if they come in, it's all over. And sure enough, they took the hinges off. They come in with their guns, and he just shot them. They're gone. Killed them in his house. He's like, and his thing later was, I felt scared for my life, and there's some people who and actually what I loved was somebody, I think the sister of one of the victims came out and said, he was only trying to get money for new sneakers. I'm like, you don't see what's wrong with that? It was kind of like, and this was 10 or 15 years ago. It's a long time ago. Well, more than that, probably 20. But I think one of the things that we want to look at is the personal responsibility of why are you just going in someone's house, And let me tell you something. I'm going to be honest with all of you. I don't like to say this, but I think it's going to get a little worse because we've got so many people coming into the country now that who are unvetted in a sense, and anything can happen. So I think it's important to be safe. And not only that, no matter what, I don't knock wood, you guys, but imagine this. Imagine some nut comes into a diner or whatever, and they're shooting people, right? And you're sitting there, and one of the guys who tries to shoot him gets shot, but the gun, it falls over by you. What would you do? See, I think we have to look at have the training, get the training, and I think that one of the things is that doesn't mean you have to have a gun, but man, I want to know how to use one. I don't have to walk around with one, but I just think in my mind, it's just smart, Oh, that's funny. You got a new fridge and they took your door off. Let's see, legal rights, unless they, oh, okay. So one of the things, they were over 18, but the thing that's interesting about that, yeah. Now go mow people's lawns and get your sneakers. That's the thing. It's I think it's just not enough anymore. And I think what we're talking about now is that, someone who's smart and has ingenuity is going to succeed over someone who does quick money. It's like anything, anything you skip stops you. So every skill you learn along the way is going to transform your life. But what we're talking about now in terms of the gun is the gun that went off and killed the cinematographer, which is really I just find that very tragic. And anyway, I think the point I'm trying to make is that the gun safety is crucial. And I think that we have to really address the fact that people don't understand that in America, our guns are going to be here to stay. I mean, you can do whatever you want to try and get rid of them. You can argue it. You can do whatever. But I think at the end of the day, it's very important that you understand that just how to handle a gun. That's going back to Alec Baldwin now. The thing that we want to look at with that is, why wasn't there some kind of safety apparatus, even in practice? And I'm going to tell you something. In rehearsals, when I've seen actors use guns, they use rubber guns. They use fake, plastic or whatever. They're not using real guns. They're not even using BB guns. Okay. Nothing. And so obviously they needed this gun because it was making it look real, because it was realistic. That particular gun, because the time period that it took place. Let's see. I want to see what Sarah said about aura. I don't understand what that is, because I'm like, now I'm following a little bit. It's Brissa. They got what they were looking for. They were looking for trouble. See, this is the thing, is that there are more law-abiding citizens who own guns than criminals. And there also are more people with guns who have saved lives. And they've even saved police officers' lives. I mean, there are some fantastic, really amazing stories about people who do it. Now, who've done that. Now, if you ask a cop, they're going to go, we don't like it when civil, but more and more the cops are going, yeah, we know we're outnumbered. We're not afraid of a well-trained civilian. And if you think about truth bombs, our amendment, okay, our amendments, the right to bear arms is really about a citizen militia. It's civilian militia. Like, we are empowered. That's what they're doing in Texas right now. They're deputizing, basically, citizens to guard the border. And you see, people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing that. It's like, well, that's what we are allowed to do by the laws of our Constitution. So I'm going to get back to what Manimal said. Why was he pointing at her? Okay. So when you're doing a close-up, or you're doing a shot that's kind of like, if you've ever seen a long shot, right, where someone's like standing there and they pull out the gun and they aim it, that's right at the camera. You're focused right on the camera. So the fact is that he's going to pull the trigger because that's a practice, right? But in any circumstance where a trigger is pulled, there is supposed to be a special barrier. And I don't know what kind of, because he told me, and I, of course, left my notes over there, but it's a special barrier, right, where it's supposed to be between the camera, because you don't want to shoot up a camera if you did, and also anybody behind that is safe. I don't know about you, but I don't care if they look at, I don't care if I look in that gun. I still don't want somebody pointing a gun at me. And by the way, when I watch some of these shows, and they're going like this with a gun and they're running in, that's the most dangerous way to hold a gun. Like, and when people go short, a warning shot, do you know, my dad told me this too, and I'd later been told by some police officers. My dad was in the field, obviously in World War II, I told you guys 100 times, but he was out there and he said because one guy who's standing next to said, yeah, I'm going to die tomorrow. My dad's like, you can't think like that. And he says, yeah, no, I'm going to go in my sleep, so it won't matter. But the next day, when dad was out my papa was out in the field, he looks at him and the guy had died by a gun going straight in, which meant somebody fired up. And my dad said it was probably safe fire, like, our fire, because they think, oh, we could shoot up. But guns, when they go up, that bullet has to come down. And so I want to say, who does that in real life? I know, Jamie, right? Who does that in real life? Who fires a gun in the air? But this is the idiocy of people who do not understand guns. And that's what I want to say to you all. The people who rail against guns and Second Amendment, all this stuff, they know nothing about guns. They're not educated about it. They just are like, children were killed today. Well, yeah, guess what? 50 more would be killed tomorrow if we didn't have law enforcement who could go in with guns and get that guy. And I think we have to remember that, a lot of this has been, and it's going to turn again, right? Because we're in this place now where people are anti-police officer, and we are seeing, listen, I'm not going to lie to you, there's always some dirty cops. You know what I mean? It's the way life is, but I feel more good than bad. Let's see. Patient advocate. Good. What's funny? Stacy just said, I've been a patient advocate for years. And you know what? You can be against guns, but know about them. And I think that's what I'm trying to say is like, my father always said to me, and I think that I kind of live by this rule. And it was like, he once said to me, I think I was like 22 and I was talking, I'm going to write my first book and this is what I'm going to do. My dad said, well, go do it. And I go, okay. And he goes, because let me tell you something. Why don't you become successful as a writer? And then you can decide if you want to do it. Because I was like, I don't know. Do I want to do it? Do I not? So he said, master something, do it, and then decide if you want to keep doing it. And I thought, well, that's a good way of looking at it, because you can stand on the side, right? You could stand off on the side forever and kind of go, well, I don't know. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Or you can complain about things and go, guns are wrong. Have you ever picked up a gun? No, I don't want to. Well, do you know anything about gun safety? No, I'm against this. See, we're living in this time right now, right? Where people are against things that they don't even know about. I think we have to learn about it and determine. I love talking to people who are educated in a particular area because then I learn more, right? So in general, we're happy not to have guns in Poland. How come? You know what? It's a lifestyle. And I'm going to tell you that, Rafael, I think, Rafa? I can't see because I probably have a dot on there. I mispronounced by like little things. My computer's dirty. Anyway, it's a lifestyle. If you grow up around guns, you're comfortable with them and you know what they are. America, okay, and I'm not going to go through an entire history, okay? Here's the thing, because this is the most important part of our history, is that our government was tyrannical. They were trying to control us. In fact, there was, I think it was the Third Amendment that protected civilians. This is actually interesting because what they were doing was they were bringing redcoats over, right? And I think it's so great that we're so close with the British now, because I just love London. I was like, I'd hate to hate London, but anyway, I'd hate to hate British people because I just adore them. But at the time, the colonies, most of the colonists came over from London, or excuse me, Europe. I want to say a lot were British. We had the French because we had the French and English. The war between the British and the French on our land, right? We had it here. And, I think that one of the things that's so important to get is that we had to fight our own government. In other words, our government was in another country. They were over in the other country and they were telling us we had to pay them, and they weren't doing well financially. They weren't doing well with a lot of things. And so they were trying to get us to support them. Okay. So what happened with that is that, and I'm making this very brief, the colonists said, wait a minute, no taxation without representation. That's where it comes from. So if you're not going to represent me, I don't want you taxing me. And then of course we had this little thing called the Tea Party, the Boston Tea Party, when we, drop them into the the sea. Let's see. I think another truth. I think there's another way to look at that, but I really like what you said. And here's the thing. I think we have to look at it as, and you know what, I am going to touch on that because it has to do with what I'm saying. Another truth just said, and I love what you said, because guns are dangerous. The violence and negligence and the arrogance around them are contributing a great way to kids' mental health issues. People need to be more responsible if they're going to have them. Let's talk about what I'd like to cover in that. Let's talk about the people who are against guns, right? Because what you want to do is you want to look at, if you're against a gun, if you think it's bad, you're going to be judging that person as being those things. That guy's arrogant. He's a know-it-all. He's this, he's this. And I'm not saying one is right than the other. But what I am saying is, guns are dangerous. And that's the point of them. You see, who brought guns to America they came over from Europe. That's really important, that when we had firearms, going back to the Third Amendment, I am going to cover what Another Truth said, because I think it's a great jumping point. And I want to just say another truth. I don't know when you came in, but there are statistics that prove that more lives are saved with guns than people killed, especially, here in America. What happened with the colonies? Let's go back. The Second Amendment was our right to bear arms. And the reason that happened is because basically, our rulers were saying, you guys can't have, you don't have the right. We're going to send you the red coat. We're called red coats, right? Because the British were all dressed up in those fancy coats, and they came over. They sent the red coats, and what they did was this is where the Third Amendment came from. They basically said to the colonists, not only are we going to send these people to watch over you and see what you're doing and make sure that you're paying your fair share, right? But we're also gonna insist that you house our militia. In other words, our army, the British army in that sense, they were called redcoats here. But when they came over, they didn't have lodging. So the colonists were expected to pay for. In other words, if I had a home or you had a home, we would take that person in and they would have to have their own room. They would have to have their own, we would be expected to give them food and room and board, no charge. That was part of that. What the Third Amendment says is basically, and I'm making it like, I'm slanging it a little, but basically what it means is that we're going to bring people over and we're going to tell you that you have to house that person. You have to pay for them. You have to take care of them. And by the way, they're going to be guarding you and they're going to get more than you. So that's kind of like, this crazy thing. When you look at it, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, does it? So I don't think, I love that. I love you, Mimi. I love that because we're talking about guns and gun safety. I don't feel the need for one. I guess some people do. Life is different for everyone. Amen. And I think that's the point of all of this, to each his own, right? And so what America fought for, and I want to say this because I know I'm going to get some hate mail. I'm just going to say it because this is not a political thing, all right? America was founded in 1776, and it was the French who validated the Americans. Because the French, as a gift, after they had the French and British War here, right, they basically, the French sent over the Statue of Liberty, which is why it has such a powerful meaning to many who understand that history, is that the people who came to America through Ellis Island and traveled here and ancestors died to come here, that was the first thing they'd see was the Statue of Liberty. So that Statue of Liberty is like so important to our history, right? So that's where statues and the importance of them came from. Now, there's a whole other conversation about that other stuff that's going on, but I want to just say, like, you have to look at it as, America was founded by protecting the rights of the less fortunate. Now, I know that sounds crazy because it's kind of like, well, wait a minute, because all this stuff we're hearing now. But think about the colonists who were giving away everything they owned, right, to the British government. And so that's why when you look at it, and even the Southern tradition of slavery, right, when you look at what was happening, it was like the Americans were like, no. And it took until Lincoln came in for the Emancipation Proclamation. So there's so many things in our history, and I really love looking at it. So the Third Amendment is basically, I'm going to give you the I want to say crib note on it, but it's kind of the cliff note. Here's the cliff note on that. The Third Amendment basically says, no, you can't bring anybody over to my country and expect me to pay for them and expect me to support them on my money and my time. That's the Third Amendment. So if you look at the southern border and what's happening now, that's kind of like a reflection of that amendment a little. So is it similar? Or is it not? You decide. And the mighty Ted Nugent. And I think that Sarah said, I was housed at the San Francisco Towers right across the street from the Liberty Memorial and the World War II Museum, all connected to Crown Center and Harvey's inside Union Station. And it's so interesting because this is what I think, and it's just my opinion. It doesn't mean anybody. And this is something I want to say. My opinion doesn't mean you're wrong, okay? And your opinion doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means it's an opinion. It's the old thing of like, everybody's got one. So, but the thing is, let's see. I didn't know that. The Statue of Liberty been done by, okay. I have to go feed my kitties. Okay. That's a great statement. I'm so glad you told us. All right. So what I'm saying then, okay. And I'm just going to, Krista just said this, super interesting, Tori. USA is older than the West for rights and laws. Love our natives and Americans. Thanks for coming up important to the USA, important to USA. Here's what I want to say too. We called them American Indians, right? They were called that in early history. Now, and then it became Native Indians. There's so many, you guys, I'm so sorry. I'm going to apologize up front because I'm going to say it wrong. All right. But why do you think you're like 1/4 Cherokee or 1/8, another tribe. Well, we have Indian in us because when there was a lot of cruelty that went back and forth, and I want to say that the colonists were not exactly nice all the time, but so the Indians weren't either. And yes, we moved into their land in that sense. However, they also married into our culture. So people were saying, oh, the Indians were disappearing. Well, that's because they were marrying into the colonist culture as well. And so we had so many Indians and Americans in that way, because it was, around that time, they were marrying. So what do you think about, I don't know anything about Project Looking Glass. You'll have to tell me, Hunter. Thank you, Shay. Thank you. But what we're looking at here, and how does that reverberate now, right? How does that affect us at this point? This is where our Constitution is a roadmap. It's a blueprint for what could go wrong and what we need to preserve for things to stay on the course, for everyone to have the freedom. Because if you think about it, and I was saying this, because everybody goes, well, yes, I'm not going to disagree. The Indians were being wiped out. I just want to say that there was so much death and so much cruelty. Thank you, Native American, indigenous people. There are tons of different names referred to my grandfather. He preferred American. Aw, bless him. It's a First Nation. Okay, I think this is great because it's there's so many names and so many proper ways to say it. Is that what I want to say is sometimes we forget in history that some really incredible things did happen. When Americans married into the Indians, and Indians married Americans, or colonists in those days, we gained so much in our heritage from knowing them, and they gained from us. So I think something, I'm going to talk about that. It's ridiculous. The dumbest damn thing I've ever heard of. Okay. So I'm talking about Sarah. I'll get back to that. So what I want to say about this is that, I think it's important to bring attention to certain rights or certain important things. And I think we should look at it as a total thing of like, oh, I do think certain things happened before we got here. And I do think there is, and I'm one of those people that really I wanted to know the history before America. And I really believe, and this is my own opinion, like I said, I really believe that before America was formed, right, prior, I want to know that history. Because you see, you can't really call it America and Americans because it wasn't yet. Now, once it happened, if you look at what we did over those years, over the last, I don't know how many 100 years, we've begun to change that. And I think that's so important. I feel that. And I don't know if you guys know this, but at the time that the Declaration of Independence was signed, and I have the number, I know I'm going to be off by like 2 or something, but I think there was 40, forgive me guys, I think it was 45. Oh, it was something like 44 men who signed the Declaration. Of course, all white men, right? But they signed the Declaration of Independence. And of those people, 23, which is just a little over half, did not believe in slavery. And so what I want to say is that our nation was founded on a promise of the future and a holdover from the past. So when we look at it that way, I believe this. I believe that most people want to do the right thing, and I don't think calling people names is going to get the information that we need, and that's where I go back to these, like I'm looking at the particularly the crime with Alec Baldwin. The thing I want to say is that what's important there is that being against guns, get rid of the NRA, he's the poster child for the reason to have the NRA. Because the NRA, yes, they do all the lobbying. Yes, they do all that. But the reality is that one of their main principles is to promote gun ownership and gun safety and gun usage. In other words, using a firearm safely. And I think that pulls this whole conversation full circle. As a people, I think it's our responsibility to learn who is the Republican of today, the Democrat of today. Who are these people? Who's the independent of today? When we look at that, and I think that one of the best things we can talk about, that as Americans, I love when people go, it's so anti, it's so mean. And I'm like, do you know that we are the melting pot? Do you know, like, that's what we've been called forever? We are known for people coming from all parts of the world because people want to come here, because we are the place that you can have an opinion and it won't kill somebody, or you won't get killed. And I think we have to look at that as well. What did Hunter say? I want to see what Hunter said, because he's always saying something. Just curious, anything knows about it indirectly? I'm piecing things together for my research. Okay. Any government workers prior can attest to this kind of behavior by certain elite groups in a select group of unselect people. What behavior are you talking about? Are you talking about the school board stuff or the critical race theory stuff? And there's some inherent issues, and I'm gonna say that is that ask what if I have been lied to about what we call history, and it blows our minds about what has just been buried away into our institutions. And you know something, Hunter, I don't disagree with you. And I think that what we have to look at, though, is we have to look at, yes, the stuff that's buried, and there's also going to be some hidden good stuff. And I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that it's not all awful and it's not all fantastic. It's a bit of it's a bit of both. And there's the best and there's the worst. But nobody's bad. It's just that we have to change our thinking. And here's the thing. The way we choose to see the world is the way the world responds to us. And I think that's really important. Let me see. Let's see. Holy history lesson. You're funny. Let's see. She works for the Federal Reserve. Oh, Sarah, how cool. And you know what? Here's the thing, Hunter. I don't disagree with you. And I think, but the most important thing of what you're saying, and I think this is very important, if we look at history the way we have it written, right? 1776 on, okay? That's in our history books. Now, that is American history. And American history includes everyone here. It doesn't just say white history, although those books were written that way at the time. Now, bear with me. I believe there should be an entire learning curve or a learning lesson for all of us about pre-America. See, I think you have to understand that there are so many millions of people who came here after America became America, right? Because they went to the West. I mean, the population now is nothing like the beginning. But there is the truth to when people talk about 1619. And you know what, though? Keep in mind that was also before America was here. Now, yes, colonists were here. Yes, slavery was here. They were originally brought in from Africa into Florida, and then the Spaniards brought them in to the South. So there's so many things as this melting pot. There's so much truth to what is being said about, well, slavery was here, and yeah, of course it was. Absolutely. But I think that we have to get to the truth. And I think we have to speak the truth as honestly and as unblamey, and Hunter just said it might be scary, but it could be that truth helps us. That's the only thing that helps us, Hunter. And I love that she said, I'm getting truth bumps right now, because we see it all different now. Yes, pre-American, it's okay. See, that's the point. Making better choices doesn't mean we hate somebody because everybody else hates them. It means that we find out who that person is, and we do our research, and we really find out what's happening. Because I think it's such a great time in America to see what's really happening to us. And like this winter, our gas prices are going up, but they're saying our heating prices are going to go up 50% from what it was. So we have to remember, if we're not making our own energy here, that we're going to have to get it somewhere. Because even though we want to be away from fossil fuels, that's the goal. But if you take it away from somebody, then what you're doing is you're kind of crippling them as well. So there has to be a balance, because I do believe we have to pay attention to the environment. I do. And I do believe all those things. And I think we have to remember that there's both. It's not like, oh, this side's evil and this side's good. It's like, no, 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 no. And I think Martin Luther King said it best. I'm going to get to that. I hope that we lead by example by saying, let's understand each other. That's the point. You see, I think the thing is that, we have to understand and listen. Like, I remember my Black family in high school, where I spent most of my time. They were great. And, we'd sit around the table, and I remember learning so much from them and their experience. Now, so I have a slightly different perspective, but I think what I'm trying to say is that, we erased the history of the people who came here as slaves. There were no birth records. We destroyed their heritage. And do you honestly think that, and this is how I feel, all right, I think they have a right to know about their history. I think they have a right to know who their grandfather, great-grandfather, all that stuff is. And I think we need to find that. I think we need to find that as a people. But I think the way to find it is to kind of say, I don't know enough. I know certain things, but I don't know enough. And I'm certainly the last person who's going to go out there and, fight for rights that I don't know about. How can I think, I think that's the point. I want to be more educated about things. I wish we could learn true history, what really happened and why, and what people really thought, and then of different issues. Boy, these are great. You guys are finishing each other's thoughts. I always think, why do people want to separate it out? It's as rich as any other country, any other history in America. It just needs to be told. Here's the thing. It needs to be told. And here's the best part. I'm going to tell you this because I was brought to tears because I was talking to a friend of mine who she's she's really on the other side of things. So she's very like, you're privileged and that kind of stuff. And I said, no, I get that already. What do you want me to do? We're having this, our little thing. And she said, but we don't have that history. And I said, but don't you get that I want to know it? And she was like, you do? I said, yeah, of course I do. It's my history too. We're all Americans. I want to know not what was done to you, but like, the Black Americans have the most strength. Think about how you survived. It's like this incredible story. And if we tell it as being something that they endured and they broke free. And no, I know that there's still problems. I get that. And I get that we're doing things wrong. But I want to honor like how strong Americans are. And that includes everybody, because I think we're an inclusive country. And I think the idea that we're different is fabulous, right? But we've got to say, oh, I never thought that. Like, I didn't even know about Juneteenth until I watched the murder of George Floyd, and, you can try to argue it any which way, but, what I saw was just, it scared the hell out of me. So when I talk about this, isn't it better to be educated? Isn't it better to, going back to what we were originally talking about with Alec Baldwin and the gun, he's so anti-gun that don't you think it's so important for us to say, hey, okay, I get that you're going to fight against it, but I want you to go take a gun safety course with them. I want you to learn what they do. And then you can say, I disagree with having guns. That's fine. But, don't just automatically paint something as all evil, and I think we've got to look at the fact that you don't get to just push in some kind of curriculum without parents being involved and wanting to be involved. We are such a rich country because of our people of color and our the different. Can you imagine? I don't know about you, but like walking down the street in New York, and it's like I can get any kind of food I want, and it's because people come here and they bring their culture and we embrace it. Where else can you do that? We're not telling you have to be this way to be American. You can't go to Mexico and be Mexican, but you can come to America and become an American. And that's a great honor. And I think it's fantastic however you got here. And I want to know why you got here and how you got here. You came over on a boat, so did I. You came over as a slave. My God, you endured that? Tell me more about it. You know? And yes, there's cruelty. And yes, we should know about that. Because the thing is just like children of alcoholics, right? You know, we're only as sick as our secrets. And I think that we have to let our secrets out. We have to tell each other, you know, I want to know, you know, and I think that's so vital for all of us. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Manimal, yeah, I love that. History is always skewed by the people who are writing it. Absolutely. But, and I want to, I'm sorry. Carrie, thank you so much. You know, and I really appreciate the super chat. And I just love getting into these meaty conversations. And, you know, Carrie, you've been a huge support. And I just want to let you know, I really do appreciate it. So thank you. She said, thank you from all of us. So thank you. Elizabeth, you just came in, man. This is like, woo, we're in it. I think the thing is that one of the things I think we've learned as Americans, and oh God, Kung Fu, I'm just going to put this right up because that's how I feel. One of the things we've learned, and I think Barack Obama said it, elections have consequences no matter which side you're going to look at it on. And the thing we have to do, and I feel this is our responsibility, go get educated, find out, what does this person really want to do? What are they fighting for? Because I can guarantee you at one time or another, every single person who went to Washington had something they were fighting for. And they went there. And by the way, a democracy and a republic are very different. And I want to get to this slavery today is poverty because it's right on. A democracy means everyone votes and the majority wins. A republic means we vote in North Carolina, right? And that's like electoral college stuff. We vote in North Carolina and we say, no, we want guns. No, we need to have this. You know, we want you at one time to go to Washington and fight for what we need, right? So what happens then, that electoral college represents the needs of North Carolina. But then when we look at California, right, and they've got how many, 55, 70, I forget how many electoral votes, it's bigger and has more people, right? So the people vote, and most of the time the electoral college goes in that direction because a republic means that our people that we elect are voting, we're voting for them and their platform to represent us in Washington. So what we need to do is know what people stand for. And you know, you're not going to get that on flip chart, by the way. You're going to get that by listening, whether you like the person or not. Because I think it's really important to know, what are they saying? Because, you know, some people go, oh, I don't like that person because I don't like that. And you know what? Then read the speech. Because the thing is that this is our country. I just need to say, it says we the people. That's the first thing on our Constitution. And I'm saddened when there was this whole thing about make America great again, you know? And I don't have anything against that slogan. What saddened me was I had some Black friends who said to me, yeah, but it was never great for us. And I'm like, see, I want it to be. I want it to be great for everyone. And what saddened me was that you think it wasn't, and I want to know why. And I want to find out more. And that's where I think we need to be educated, okay? To understand, why isn't it great for you? Let's make it great, you know? And I think, do you feel this political movement took over our rights and freedom? Absolutely, I do. I do. And I'm going to say, I don't know who's in Washington. I don't know who's in the White House. I have no idea. Like I know that something happened here. And I think it makes us all, the blessing of it, let's talk about the blessing of it. It makes us all very responsible for, you know, when we go in and press a lever, it matters. It matters, you know. Are they representing us and what we want? So the importance of the republic, you guys, means that of all the senators and all the people from the House, right? One of the things I want to say, those people are people we send to Washington to represent our rights and needs. Because certainly Wyoming doesn't need the same thing as Florida. Would you ever think about hurricane insurance in Wyoming? No. So we need different things. Oh yeah, thank you, Carrie. Yeah, if you would if you're digging it, and subscribe because we'll have more of these kinds of. I love these. I think we do have a lot of answers within us, and I hope we can figure some groups out to make. It's already happening. Make some new headlines. I agree, Hunter. It's already happening because you see, my dad used to say this, and I'm going to say this is very important. No matter what, we're very blessed and lucky to be in this country. And because we care about all the people here. I don't always agree with some people who I think are like off the wall, but I love their passion. And I love that they want to stand for something. What I don't really get into, and this is why I disappeared, you guys, for like a year and a half. I couldn't stand the ugliness. I couldn't stand how mean people were to each other. And I think, yes, I agree with Hunter, and I'm going to come back to this, and then I'll get to that. Kung Fu said slavery today is poverty. And you know what it is. And I think the biggest thing we want to say about that, the most important thing is, are we supporting our people with opportunity? Or are we just giving them money thinking that that will go away? Because that's what they did in the first civil rights movement. Because they just said, well, okay, give them housing, give them something. No, they wanted dignity. They wanted rights. Yeah, right on, And so I think I think that we cannot promote, we can't promote something that divides any of us. I think, and when you look at they, I think it's we. Let it begin with me. Let me just say, I don't want to be against somebody. They have a right to their opinion. They have a right to their thinking, and maybe it's going to help me. I think what happens is that things get so out of hand that you go, I don't want to listen to this, as opposed to, I think the simplicity of watching George Floyd murdered and how much we have ignored our entire Black American community. And forgive me if I'm supposed to say people of color, because a lot of people are in there. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that changed me. But you see, here's the fault, you guys. Here's the fault, and I'm saying the fault line, I want to say the thing that wedged between us is that, and I'm just going to say this as a white person, I saw that happen, and I was numb. I was numb. I was so shocked. I was trying to talk about it, and I couldn't, because you see, I saw it for the first time. I mean, people have always said, oh, they're against us. And I was like, oh, come on. And then I saw that and I went, oh my God, this is horrible. And to live like that in that fear every day, that's not right. I want it to be great for them, meaning people who feel persecuted. I'm not saying a particular, and I kind of went, wow. But you see what happens, and I want everybody to understand this. I was so numb. I wasn't going to come out and like, fight for something, because I didn't know how to change it in the moment. You see, I didn't know what to do in the moment, because it's like when you get this information, you go, okay, something needs to change. But you see, what happens is, if you don't it's kind of like in an abusive relationship, right? So once you find out that person has been abused, then you go, oh my God, for a minute. And that person who's been abused says, you're not doing anything. It's like, well, I'm so stunned, not just because you're right, but I couldn't fathom it, because I don't know that experience. And I think that that's what changed me. And that's, for me, where I'm able to say, I love Americans. I love all Americans. I think that we are just this amazing group, and look, and I'm not going to lie, I don't think anybody should. It's not, oh, I don't see color. No, I see if I like you or not, and what I love about you, what I love most about all of you, is your colors. We all have colors in a certain way, right? So I love that. I love the differences. I love what learning about different things. And if you don't look at how much, yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm going to agree with Lisa on here. Are you serious? In what country can you go from being a slave to a billionaire? All my black friends find this as horrible. Major League Baseball matter doesn't care about all black people. I think the thing is that we have to look at, absolutely. And here's the thing that has to change. This is the thing. You are absolutely right. We are in a country where you can go from poverty to a billionaire. And here's the thing. You have to change your script in your head. See, I can give you $1 million right now. And I can guarantee, what is that thing about lottery winners? If you don't have the mindset of money, you're never keeping it. I don't care what anybody says. They'll lose every penny. They, meaning whoever wins it. How many millionaires, lottery winners lose everything? See, that's the thing I'm saying, is that the mindset has to change. As long as we all look at it as us against them instead of, oh my gosh, this really happened to you. We need to look at not, oh, you need my help. You don't need my help. You need me to acknowledge that this is real and I know it happened. And then let it grow from a natural place of, we need to make changes. But getting to this, like, now we've got to end this and we've got to stop this, that's not helping. Being so, I want to say anti-American, anti-different groups, different people. Let's see. I was there 2 weeks ago. What kind of work isn't being filled, and why do you think that? Sedona is more expensive than Beverly Hills. Okay, let me see. Okay, here's what work isn't being filled, okay? It's the mindset. As long as we, as a society, look at any minority as, oh, you poor thing, and kind of say to them, oh, what happens is the rage that, I'm just going to say, because I know for myself, when people would say to me, oh, you're so lucky you're an only child. Really? I would just look at them and go, because my mom beat the heck out of me and my father walked away. And, and people go, because there's anger in us, right? But if you can imagine that culture of you can't just say to somebody, okay, I'm now going to give you back. You can't give somebody what has been stolen from them, because it will never be the same. It will never wipe away that pain. But what will wipe away the pain is, and this is the truth, is understanding that you matter as an American. You are part of this. And what do I need to do to help you feel part of it? And I agree with that. Smarty girl, just that it's how we treat each other. We have no empathy. Let me see. Now everyone's becoming more divided with camera phones and Hunter, you're so funny. I just I don't know, this is just, I love it. I want to work and feel a part of something bigger for sure. I think the bagging grocery work might be hard to sit with now that life is so miserable. Here's what I want to say to you though. You see, it's not about the work you do. It's about who you bring to the work. I have a friend, another little Tori story. I have a friend who, she's really having a hard time. And listen, we've all had hard times, and, it's a little challenging right now. And I'm going to do a whole video about that. But just because, you guys, do you want me to tell you this? I got to tell you the story. I'll tell you in a minute. Okay. So she comes in, she goes, yeah, just really, I go, well, I can give you some work. I got, you can help me with XYZ. Oh, no, I don't like to do that. Oh, okay. She doesn't like to organize. Okay, and I said, well, you could help me with this. Well, I don't know. I'm not really good at that. I don't really like it. Oh, okay. So then who gets called when she has $100 left? I'll do anything. But you see, here's the thing, Hunter. We have to be willing to bring pride to that job, to bring us, the American pride, and the have a nice day. Thank you so much. I smiled at somebody today, and the guy was so mean, right? Because he was just, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him, because I think we're all so angry inside from just being pent up, right? But you know what? Here's the thing. Oh, yes, Amy, I'm going to come to that. Oh my God, there's so many great thoughts here. I'm going to put this up so you guys can, all right. What I want to say to you about jobs. Okay. I said to this woman, hey, I know somebody who's hiring for her skill, right? And she said, oh, okay. And I gave her the information. I sent it to her. And my friend who was hiring said, I never heard from her. And she actually sent it to the wrong email. Now, anybody who's in this kind of work, right? Here's this work, the self-actualization work, we can go, okay, that wasn't an accident. Because you see, as long as you benefit from being the victim, and it's really hard to give that up. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to put anybody into victim, because I think the worst thing we can do is not listen to what someone says they need. But I think when you say to them, okay, so I'm going to give you that, will that change your life? And it's fascinating how people go, what do you mean? A case in point, I had a client who was like, she just wanted to get married. She didn't care. She just wanted to get married. She wanted to get married. And I said, okay, well, what about getting married? She said, well, I really I want to get married, and I want to just have, I said, well, what do you want with the marriage? And she came out and said, I want a ring. I want to wear that ring. And I said, then go get a ring and put it on yourself. Because if the ring is the thing you want, you're going to see why you don't have it. And see, what I'm trying to say, and I want you guys to get this. Once she put that ring on, all right, she said, you know what? I'm scared out of my mind. I said, why are you scared out of your mind? She goes, because I don't know, it just scares me. I said, see, what you're scared of is the intimacy of intimacy. You're scared of being open and vulnerable. You're scared of saying, I love you, or I'm scared. And what's happened here in our country is people are afraid of saying, I'm scared, because someone will attack you. See? So we put on those rings thinking that's going to make it better. And it doesn't. Nothing is going to make it better but your mindset. Begin with the end in mind. And Stephen Covey said it best, you guys. And by the way, Duty Ron is in the house. Duty Ron's in the house. So love you so much. Thank you for the super chat. You're just the best ever. And I'm going to go to what Amy's saying, because enjoy the benefit of division. Let's look at that. Because if we take those words and we say, if we relanguage that and say, nobody's ever going to care. Nobody's ever going to care. I'm never going to get mine, right? It's never going to be fair for me. So F you all, I'm going to get what I can get. That attitude has gone too far. And the reason it's gone too far is because, you see, when you do that, you destroy the very people that were giving to you. So that's what begins to so that's the thing. It's like, you're going to hear me say now, so go get the ring. Here's the best thing. I went to oh my gosh, I know we all love Duty Ron. I'm so happy you're here. So when you enjoy the benefit of division, you continue to divide. Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute, because I think it's a really right on statement. It really comes down to that, even though someone wants opportunity. See, because really what people want is opportunity. Wouldn't you say that's really it? If I said to you, oh, I can't even believe what they were thinking here. I don't even get me started with some of the things in the city, but they were actually, because we have an older projects, just up the street from me. And basically they wanted to make this real pretty, like cement and planter greenway from that project down to the city, so they could walk into town easily instead of walking around this way, right? And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, you are just as dumb as dirt. People don't want another thing from you. They want opportunities. Why aren't you creating jobs for them? Why aren't you creating apprenticeships? Do you know the worst thing we did, I think, in America is make it like, oh, you can't have somebody apprentice for you, It's like all these freaking things. I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many times, I would ask people to be my mentor and they would say yes, and I'd learn, So what I want to say is people want opportunities. People want peace, before they want fighting. They don't, and this is the thing too. Now it's just taking advantage of others. I want to say that about what Kung Fu just said. Here's the thing. If we look at it this way, people are highly protective of themselves. So much so that we're getting that idea of that really that the communists teach, right? Of it's better to just take it than to ask for it, right? Because you see, if we ask for it, then they'll know we want it and then they'll take it from us more. So there is that kind of, High Backbone said, businesses can do better at sharing profits with their employees, taking better care of them if they want to keep them. The greed of some of our companies is puke-worthy. I'm going to just say this, High Backbone, because I don't disagree, all right? But I want to just say this. That's not all of our companies. See, I know people that had a company, it was a lumber company, and they had like 100 and something employees, and the government came after them so strongly. This is like 10 years ago. So strongly with like all these regulations. And by the way, the people loved them. They always got bonuses. And this couple figured out that if they closed their company, they would be making just as much money from the money they invested. They took no salaries, by the way, because they wanted to make sure their employees were taken care of. And it became a point where they were losing money because of all of the things that people, were saying that they needed to create. Meanwhile, the employees were going, wait a minute, we get overtime, we get all this stuff, leave us alone, And I think we have to remember 80-something% of all corporations in America are like, and check this out, I think it's like 80, is owned by a mom and pop. I have a corporation. And when I call the IRS, I always go, okay, just so you know, let's get all this straight, you guys, all right? I'm sitting in here, I'm got my shorts and a t-shirt. So when you talk about the company, I'm it. And I'm going to make a frozen pizza in a few minutes. So I just want you to know, it's like, I'm like the guy in the boxer shorts sitting in my house. There's no company. It's just me. But we know that corporations have, we know that they have like, how can we put it? We know that they've got like all sorts of ways to skirt taxes, but that's when they get higher and higher and higher up. Most of the big corporations are not even the mom and pop shops. And my friends who had that company had to close it because they said, we're going to lose our everything. We're going to lose everything because this is just when Obamacare came in, and it evened out and stuff, but they were asking for like so much money in California to like, and they couldn't afford it. So it ended up, I know I want fruit frozen pizza. But you know what I'm trying to say? It's like kind of like, I'm just sitting here by myself. I'm a corporation. So I'll call up and go, I'm two corporations. Okay, I got this for this and this for this. And the thing is, the lady at the IRS started laughing. She laughed and she said, oh, okay. And she's like, I think that's the point. We're just human beings trying to get through the day, people. And at the end of the day, who is this greedy person? I guarantee it's not necessarily about greed. It's about power. It's always about power. See, there are people who have the power and they're so kind to others. They give away half of their stuff. I know I have friends who have companies that they, did an employee owned thing and now they don't even, stay within their company, So Hi Backbone, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. And I want to say that I think the best thing we can do, and I love what Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington talk about success. And you want to listen to some people that know about success, listen to these guys. And I've listened to them, and I will say this to you in fairness to everything. I used to complain a lot when I was growing up. I'd be like, oh, this is right. And my dad would say, maybe if you stopped complaining about it and did something about it, you wouldn't feel so bad. I went, So I wrote my first book. It got published, and it was with Dutton. And I was like, And I remember coming in and saying to my dad, I published this book. I got, I wrote this book. He goes, sure you did. I said, yes, I did. He said, Tori, you talk about stuff, you don't get things done. Here's the contract, smarty. Who's the one who doesn't get things done now? And he goes, oh, you're right. This is why I love my father. Because he'd look at me and go, you're right. I shouldn't have put that on you. He was saying I didn't get things done, but I was sitting there with a book contract and I got it done. And the point I'm making is that what we put on other people, the way we characterize them is we're going to see the worst in them. And we see the worst of humanity because we choose to see it. So I'm going to give everybody something for tomorrow to start your week, right? And then I do want to talk about just a tad about the laundries. I wonder if Duty Run's still here. I'd love to have him on. Let me see if I can. I always forget how to send out the links and all that kind of crap. Anyway, message me. I don't know how to do it, but let's see if he can. Okay. Anyway, I should have sent him a link. Exactly. Kung Fu Panda just had it. It's how you use the power and how you treat others. Now, I had an idea. I was sitting here all this time about time I was thinking, right after the George Floyd thing. I was sitting here and I wonder how things could be kind of more fair. And I went, maybe the people who are affected by slavery, maybe we could do a match with the government. Like, let's say their taxes, I'm just going to make up a number. Let's say their taxes are $2,000 a year, right? So the government can match those taxes and put it in a special account for them that would be like what, the privileged class does, create an IRA for school or for a house, create those things that we can then match people who are how many descendants from slavery, right? You get this when you pay taxes, we will give you 100% match of what your tax was. Even if you get the money back, and let's say it's $2,000, you get $2 from the government, so that it's parsed out to people who really do get that fair shake, right? So I was thinking about, these are, okay, your views on narcissism are so off and okay. Oh, okay. So, whoa, we don't say that stuff here, Humanimal. We're not going to, just give me a second. I'm putting you in a timeout because we don't say that stuff about anybody here. Be nice, play nice with others, or, okay. So, because if somebody is, look, here's the deal. If somebody's really rude and mean, I just say bye-bye, and I think that what we need to do, so here's Monday, ready? Okay. So I'm going to give you guys Monday. What I want you to do, and I don't know if you pray or you meditate, but what I'd like you to do is I want you to, at some point, if you believe in God, go with this. If you don't believe in God, go with good, orderly direction, G-O-D, good, orderly direction, okay? When you bring down some white light from heaven and you ask God to bless you and those you love, you ask to be of service to one person today, one person who can be blessed because you're breathing. And when you think of your life that way, it doesn't matter what your job is. I have a friend whose husband is a pretty famous actor, and he taught me that. Because he'd be like, oh, I don't care about the movie. I care about sitting there and seeing who's going to come over today who I can bless. And I went, no wonder he's a success. Because you see, if we give it away, there's then, if you think about greed, right? What is greed? It's a closing in on itself. But if you think about a blessing, it's a bloom. And so what we're looking at here is that, down, 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 time. What if we just did that? If we just said, who do I get to bless today? I'm so excited. And it's not easy. It's not easy to maintain that. Just put it out there. So I go up, into the light and I just say, God, thank you for the blessings. And please bless the people I care for and people I haven't met yet that need it. And God bless America, because I always bless my country, and all of you should, whatever country you're with, And I bless my country and I say, please allow me to be of service and bless one person today. One. And I said that about my Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards because look who comes up for his blessing. Hi, babe. I say that, my Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards, after I had my near-death experience, I had people coming to me, angels coming and telling me these stories, and I wrote them down. I thought, these are so stupid. They sat in drawers for 10 years. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to do everything I can to make this project happen. I know, sweet pea. I know. We're not going to do, oh, no kissies. Okay. So I'm going to do everything I can to make this project happen because I believe that God brought this to me. And I said, if I bless one person with this, then I have done my job. And I don't care what it takes because it's about, we have to have that higher thinking. Okay. Whoops. Okay, baby. Where you want to go? What's the big dream? You want to go over here? Oh, he wants to go on me. It's going to lay on me. So I think that's the key. Are you guys there? I don't even see anything on. Like chat just stopped. I don't even know if it's still, I'm still on. If anybody's here, can you just say, yeah, I'm here? Let's see. Self-employed did not get any free money. Okay. They had employees to apply for a loan. Yeah, the problem with loans and everything else. I'm just going to say this because I don't know if we've been cut off, because I think chat has been cut off. But what I want to say is that if you can bless one person today, then just know that you've made a difference today. So I'm going to end this broadcast because I don't know if people are here or not, but I still want to talk about the laundry parents and my vibes on them. And I think that's going to be an important one. And I want to talk about, changing our thinking, because if you think of yourself as a victim, you're going to have all kinds of victim experiences. If you rise above your own self and you go, who can I bless today? God will reward you in ways you don't even know about. So whether you believe it or not, I want to say that we are in a wonderful time to be able to learn. And I want to just say, I'm very grateful for all of you. Thank you so much. And remember, say what you mean what you say, don't say it mean. And I look forward to connecting with all of you in the future. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Tomorrow night I'm going to be on, but that's the tarot chat. So I'm going to talk about what that is. All right, bye for now.